Fox News alert. According to multiple reports, ABC News' longtime correspondent Terry Moran out of a job after posting an anti-Trump social media rant. Moran was previously suspended for calling Stephen Miller a world-class hater. That comes as the liberal media calls Trump a dictator and a fascist for rolling out the National Guard. And one guy was comparing ICE agents to slave catchers.
This reminds me historically of it's not a clear analogy, but when the nation, when these political factions divided the nation in between slaveholders and slave catchers.
Trump is militarizing that state as a test run, to make sure that he can do it in places like New York.
He's decided to throw out all the rules. You know exactly what his intentions are. He's blonde Berlusconi.
Oh, while their anchors swear torching Waymos is mostly peaceful, CNN's Brian Stelter's out here playing the fact-check fairy, warning us that riot videos might be misleading because some clips are 2 days old.
You got to be careful at a delicate moment like this to look at the timestamps, look at the dates. A lot of these algorithms are surfacing hours old or even days old content. So you might be looking at a video of something, wondering what's happening in LA. It's actually from 2 days ago. And that's, it only matters because it can give people a false impression of what's actually happening at a moment of unrest.
Brian Stelter, Greg, explaining the concept of time.
Yes. We'll get to him in a minute, but it's always a welcome surprise when I see that pudgy little fella. I miss him. The media downplays the violence and the mayhem because they support the cause. They wax poetic about everything but the victims, as Harold pointed out. There are victims. If this were their house, if this was Stelter's house, he'd be dialing 911 until his fingers bleed. He might even put down a donut to call 911. What I find interesting is how come these networks aren't interviewing the protesters. There's a selective shielding going on. Yep. They know the protesters are the worst spokesman for the protest. So as the media, we'll take care of that for you. We don't need to interview them. We will be, your spokesman. And their delusional commentary alongside the videos of the rioters and the arson is a perfect juxtaposition of reality and ideology. Our eyes, we can see the destruction, but their mouths are trying to get into our ears, telling us it's mostly peaceful, but there's no better persuasion than the visual. Every video strengthens Trump's position and reminds us how wrong the media was on everything from the summer of love to the fall of Biden. Little seasonal pun there. But let's get to Stelter and all these other losers. Do you ever wonder who the media is talking to? It's not the public. They no longer watch or believe or care what these people have to say. The media is talking to the media. CNN, MSNBC, they are reduced to being the homeless man muttering to his reflection in a CVS window. When he nods, so does his reflection. But they can't see this. It's no longer a blind spot. It's a complete total eclipse. And probably the biggest change in culture is the emancipation of the public from the legacy media. We are free from these zombies.
And they have freed us by exposing themselves as rank partisans. Martha, Terry Moran out at ABC.
Yeah, with Brian Stelter, I love the fact-checking that he's doing there. I mean, basically the principle would be if you were showing Minnesota and you were saying, this is what happened last night in Los Angeles, that's a bad idea, right? If you're showing a continuous protest that has basically been going on since Friday night, and you say, well, this was Tuesday, this is today, the story is continuing. It's the same story. So I think it's pretty easy to make that clear. It's not like overnight, you talked about a fairy, that the fairy godmother came in and made everything perfect in Los Angeles, so we shouldn't be talking about it anymore. And to Greg's point, it's true that many of these covering this story have become sort of the proxy for the protester. And they're saying, here's what's happening here. They're not walking up to the man with the flag from Mexico and asking him the obvious question, which is, why are you waving a flag from Mexico? Aren't you actually angry with the American situation, the government that you find here, that you feel is being oppressive to you? If you're going to wave a Mexican flag, why not just go back home? I mean, imagine if thousands of people crossed into Canada and started burning waving American flags and burning Canadian flags.
Let's not disclose our military operation, Sandra.
I mean, they'd be like, go back to America, right? It would be quite obvious. But Rachel Maddow, never ceases to give us material. She said, even if these protests were 100 times the size that they are right now, they still wouldn't have an operational merit to bring in active duty troops or federalized National Guard. 100 times what you're seeing out there, she says, I would still say it is wrong to bring in the National Guard and to make these streets safe for Los Angeles.
She has not been right. In so many years, she doesn't know what it's like.
Well, let's go to the lawyer, or one of the lawyers, Harold. Is he on firm legal ground by activating the Guard over the, reticence of the governor?
Kaylee and I were talking about this during break. I think he has the authority to do it. He has grounds to do it. What I was trying to say in the last segment, and Kaylee and I were talking about off air, is it would seem to me that with all of the firepower there, if the president is in charge, and even Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass don't agree with what the president's doing, they have to come together as leaders of the respective city, state, and country and say, here's what's going to happen if activity like this finds itself unleashed somewhere in our city. Here's what we're going to do. And if there's disagreement between or amongst the three of them, the president probably supersedes all of them in his authority with the National Guard. Now, I don't know what the Marines can do. I know what the Marines do, but I don't know what their authority is. The president or someone, Secretary Heck said someone should outline and enumerate it specifically what their role is there in Los Angeles and what they're able to do as a way. Greg and I've had this conversation about Tom Holman. I think sometimes he talks big a lot, and he's like going up for a Clint Eastwood movie all the time. And you said, you know what? He has to do that sometimes. I want someone to do this here, to explain to these rioters, explain to these paid agitators, if you continue doing this, this is what's going to happen. Because I don't want to watch. I want to watch your show tonight. I don't want to watch something terrible happening in Los Angeles. So I just wish some leadership would emerge from the three of them and tell us what to expect, what people can do, what they can't do, and what the punishment will be.
Yeah.
Are the feds not going hard enough?
No, they're doing what they can do, but you need the support of the governor. Look, you had Tim Walz, who delayed in sending the National Guard. He had the right to call the National Guard up. He did on a limited basis, this is back in Minnesota in 2020, on May 28th. Limited basis to just protect federal property. That night is when the police precinct burned, and he goes, oh, okay, we got to fully activate them. Trump has surpassed that because we're on day 6 now. Newsom hasn't called up the National Guard, so Trump did. The military, they're there. They can only guard federal property. Until Donald Trump declares the Insurrection Act and invokes that, they are only there for federal property. They can go in the streets once he goes to the Insurrection Act. I'd rather be watching your show and Brian Stelter on the back of your clipboard. I used to love when you had that on. Or you still have it.
No, I have a new clipboard now.
Okay, well, you got to put Stelter on
I'll
there.
fix it.
One last thing, if I could just say about Terry Moran. Shame on ABC that you didn't fire him in 2017 when he was tweeting Nazi comparisons against Donald Trump and saying things to that effect in 2021. Where were you then? Don't tell me you're impartial and you care about standards. 2017, this guy outed himself, and it took you until 2025 to out him.
Okay. Again, let's just knock these riots out so we can watch exclamation point.
That's the real reason.
Coming up, 2 of the biggest beta males in the Democratic Party are catfighting. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.